Hi, my name is Tim. I'm Senior Application Specialist at HRSoft. In today's webinar, we will have a look at the copy function in Custom Tools. With me today, my wingman and HR Sales Manager, Francois Simon, who will answer your questions. You can use the chat box in the GoToWebinar panel. I'll make room after the session for more questions so that you follow the presentation better. We expect the webinar to take somewhere in the range of 20 minutes. As always, the webinar is being recorded and made available online later on. Okay, let's get started. So, why should we make a design copy? Well, if you are making a new version of a project, it is very handy to copy that project. If you have a customer who ordered an almost identical project, then reuse the already existing files. Many users have been using PackGo, which is okay, but not the perfect solution. Using the built-in copy in Custom Tools, you get some great tools available. The interface is pretty straightforward and easy to understand. Using, for instance, sequence numbers to name files makes it really simple to copy your design files. We understand the file references, so drawings can be updated during the batch process, and you can be sure that the file name is updated in the drawing header as well as in the BOM list on the drawing. You can exclude files from your design library as well as toolbox components. If you have the need, you can even use find and replace in file name to manually change file names in copy. I'll open up Solidworks now and show how to use the copy. I have a few different ways I'd like to show you, and if you find this interesting, just let us know and we can send you the profile used in this webinar. So first off, I want to search, and I have nothing currently in this database. So that is fine. What I want to make a copy of assembly I already created. So I'm going to open up this one. And then I'm going to show how people are using Solidworks nowadays. They use PackGo. In PackGo, you can use include drawing, include toolbox component. You can change the save location, and that would just update the save to folder. You can add prefix or you can add suffix. But if you want to rename your files with a sequence, that is impossible. You need to actually go one by one and change the file name. And you can do the same for the save folder. You can just double click and then change that save folder. That's just about it in PackGo. It's a decent tool if you want to make a set of files to someone in tech support, for instance, or a colleague who can then work on a remote location for these files. But for design copy, it's not really useful. So I'm going to close everything and show you that we can actually start the copy sequence without anything open. This is really useful if you have a big assembly. You don't want to open up that one in Solidworks first and sit and wait for the entire structure to load. You can just open up the copy without any files open and then add, for instance, in this case, an assembly. The assembly we're going to work on is the 1545, so that is this guy. What this will do is it will load the file references into my file list over here. And now I can begin building my file name and my copy rules. For the first one, I'm going to use a general project. I'm not going to do anything real. I'm just going to move the files to a different location. I really like to have an understanding of how and where files are originating and who did what. So in my profile, I added the copied by and a copied date. This is absolutely not mandatory, but it's a nice thing to have for file track history. As you can see, we already set the save folder. The save folder actually comes from our project. So that was just passed over to my save folder destination. And I could have had a different location for my drawings if I wanted to have that. In the Advanced tab, we can import copied files into our Custom Tools database. That means when I do this, I can then search for more files. We default exclude design library files. Design library files are the files you find in this window. Of course, you don't want to make copies of those, in most cases at least, so we ignore those. And that is true also for toolbox parts. There is an option to update drawings. I'm not going to do that in this example, but I'm going to do it for one of the next ones. The update drawing is going to update the drawing actually by opening up the drawing in Solidworks and saving the file. This ensures that the file name in the drawing header is up to date, as well as the bill of materials on your drawings. So you don't have to do anything manually after that. But I'm going to omit that for now. If we look at the file tree down here, we have some different columns. This is our original file name and our original file path. Now we can do some things in here that are kind of hidden features. If I know that this assembly located in C uses TRH downloads, it's not a file that I want to change. It's actually kind of a design library file, but I never put it in my design library. Well, I can just right mouse and uncheck anything found in that folder. So everything in the downloads folder will now not be copied. We just reference back to that. I can, of course, check the folder as well. I can, as you saw, I inserted an assembly. I can also insert an entire folder or individual files. Then I have the option to find and replace a file name. And this is not going to make sense for this one, so I'm going to save that for the next one I'm going to show you. In the file list, we can check all, uncheck all, expand, and collapse all. If we unlist it, we can collapse all and expand all. Running the flat tree is more easy on the eye. You don't really need to understand the structure at this point. You can run a search string. So in this case, I have a bunch of different files, so I'm just going to search for assemblies, for instance. So I'm going to type in SLD-ASM and then run that search. And kill the sound. What that will do is it will highlight the files. And they are going to be highlighted until we clear the search. So basically what I can do now is I can double click a file and then define a new file name if I wanted to. And then go to the next one. It will also enable me to search for components or view those. Of course, I cannot view anything now because I have nothing loaded. So I'm also going to show that in a few seconds. Apart from that, we show the configuration name and the new file name. If you want to, you can turn off these ones. You can turn off columns and you can turn them back on. Now these are kept as a session default. So next time you start up Solidworks, we are going to load this type of structure in this view. But if you really don't want to see those, you just need to remove them once, and then it will stay like that for the entire Solidworks session. But anyway, generate file names is going to create new file name. Only thing different here is the original file path, because we are going to copy those into a new folder. And yeah, I can just run that. I'm not going to update the drawings at this point because that takes quite a bit of time. I am going to do it because I want to show you that we update the drawings, as I said. But now it's just running through. We have 47 files that we are going to handle, and now everything is copied. So if I run a search now, we actually have files in our database. Now I can open up this one. As you can see, it takes a little bit of time to open up an assembly. So the good thing is you can load the copy without anything open and just insert that assembly you want. It's much faster doing it like that. Well, This time I'm going to copy with a sequence. So I'm going to use copy. Oh, already selected. Okay, copy with sequence. So again, I'm going to type in who made this copy. So that was me and today's date. This time I'm going to rename all my files with a sequence number. So I have copy with sequence defined, and that is just going to return this kind of cryptic text. And you shouldn't worry about that. We cannot display the actual numbers, of course, because we're handling a lot of different files. But I'm going to the right side, and everything is actually set the way I want it. I have the save folder as defined in my project, and really only thing I need to do now is generate the file names. And that is going to generate new file names. So the 1545 is now going to be called 0, and so on. And I can then just run this copy job. All is set, nothing to worry about. It's all good. I'm not going to copy it because it takes a little bit of time. The next one I'm going to show is the copy with project and sequence. Now, the project is my project number, and in this case, my project number is 2016-02. And again, I'm going to set who copied it. I'm going to blame Francois if anything goes wrong in this one, today's date, and then just return a sequence code. And this is a different sequence called copy with project and sequence. And what this will do is it will generate a different type of file name. So this time we're using a combination property to create the 2016-02 as well as the sequence itself. So these are being combined, and as you can see, the sequence is the 10,000, 10,010, 20, 30, and so on. In this case, we increment by 10. The first one we actually increment by 1. Whatever rule you have in your company, we can obey. So if you increment by 5, we just set the increment for the sequence to be 5. So you can basically do almost anything you would like. But then again, I can just run the copy, and that would be it. Let's run it. And still I'm not updating the drawings. I will do that for the next copy. When you run a copy, we actually prompt at the end, do you want to open the copied version? And we can say yes, or we can say no. If we say yes, of course, we open up the assembly that we just copied, and I can do that. And now you can see that all the files have been renamed to a different file name. If I have a look at the find references, you'll notice that they are all kept in a different location, except for my toolbox component, which still is in my toolbox. I guess that's where it should be. Okay. Now, we can do it a bit more complicated than this. If you have different rules for parts and assemblies, it's not a big problem. It can be if it's not mathematically defined. But in this case, I'm going to show how you can do it. Copy using part and assembly sequence. Okay, so again, who copied it and on which date. The project name is just a key value list. So whatever I select here is going to return a key. So I'm going to use the copy demo, and that would then return the 1450. This is just to show how we can do it. But anyway, now I'm going to move over here, and then notice we have the destination folder set already. And if I generate the file names, there will be a problem. Everything is in red. Okay, so what happened? Well, I didn't exactly tell what to use as a new file name. So I need to go back and then select, because we are always in model scope, I have individual names for parts and assemblies. So I'm going to select part in this list. With part selected, I can then set the sequence for the part. That would then create a combination with my project number and the part sequence. I need to do the same for my assembly. So I'm going to pick assembly, generate the sequence, the assembly sequence. The combination is set as well as the sequence. And now I can go back and generate file names and everything should be fine. And it is. So looking at this one, we get two assemblies, one called 100 and one called 200. All of my part files are named 3000, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So in this case, the rule defined is my assemblies are in the 0 to, I think it's 2000, I'm not even sure, but we increment by 100 per assembly. So you cannot have an assembly automatically created called 105. If you have that, it's manually created. The part files are starting at 3001 and then increment by 1. So two different file naming rules for two different files, and we can easily handle that as well. Now this time I am going to update drawings, and you will have to sit and watch how that is being done, because it's going to take maybe just 1 minute. But anyway, I'm going to run it, and you will see drawings are being opened in Solidworks and actually saved. We update the properties in your file header. So if you have the file name, if that's existing on your drawing, then it's going to be updated, as well as in your bill of material, because we don't want to reference old files, obviously. So just let it run. Okay, we got it. We get the same question. Do you want to open the files in Solidworks? Yeah, sure. Let's do that. So here is my new assembly file. So we get different file names as well as the assembly names. If I'm going to open up the assembly drawing for this one, this is now updated. The drawing number is updated, 1450, 200. And the bill of material as well has been updated with the new part reference numbers. So everything was done fully automated. You didn't have to do anything manually. Let's just close everything. And open up this one. There is a more direct way of using copy. That is like you do in the PackGo, for instance. If I'm going to use the copy using replace, I can set who did it and on what date, then go back to my list view. Actually, there's a trick that I want to share with you, because I have seen so many people pulling this in and out to resize it. Solidworks actually put in this nice little feature up in the top. You can restore and then make the window bigger and smaller just by clicking that arrow. Just a small trick, as well as, of course, the pin to pin it down. But anyway, I'm going to create file names for that. And now I have the 2016-02. I don't want it to be called that. I actually want to find and replace in this file name. So I'm going to type in 2016-02. That is correct. And then replace it with awesome. And hit OK. Now that will change the value of all the 47 occurrences found in the file name. And when that's done, I can just run the copy one more time. And that is it. I'm going to go back to PowerPoint again I have some recaps for you. Using Copy, you get a two-step interface. You set the values on the left of your screen, and then you generate and handle your files on the right side. It's really easy to understand and use the tool. You also get a bunch of hidden tools like replace and file name, as we have in PackGo. Easily check or uncheck files from the same folder, or use search to find those files of interest and navigate visually in the graphics window by using the arrow buttons. With the search result, you can select or deselect files. I actually didn't show you that. Let me just go back and do that right now. If I search, for instance, for SLDASM, it's going to find these two guys. So if I'm going to move this a bit out of the way, I can use the arrow keys and highlight the document. It's not going to make sense for assembly, so let's try SLDPRT and do the same. I get a lot of highlights, and I can then begin navigating visually through the list of files. Some of these files are hidden inside the cabinet, of course, but you get visual feedback. With the search result, you can right-click and then check search result or uncheck search result. So if I uncheck the search result, all the search results are unchecked. And going back, you can check, not check folder, but check search results. So this is one more hidden feature you have as well. And then, as I showed, you can double-click any file to manually overwrite the file name or the save location. And then finally, a very strong argument. You can use advanced and automated file naming of your files, as we did for the part and assembly demo, for instance. That is all I had to show for you today. I hope you got inspired by this webinar and forever forgotten about PackGo for design reuse. As I said, if you would like to have a copy of the profile, just leave us a message and we'll send it to you. Thank you for attending the webinar and hope to see all of you for the next one scheduled at June 17th, same time as today. We will have a look at how you can connect your ERP system and Solidworks together. I will now stop the recording and cover the questions that you may still have. Thank you and have a nice day. We are in the life-saving business. We kill your routines before they kill you.